Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, my name is Doug Lief, and I am the host of the Nostalgium Arcanum podcast, where we revisit all things pop culture from the past. So I'm really excited to be joining you on this episode of Side Quest to talk about a video game that I love from my past, 1992's Soul Blazer for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This game is part of an unofficial trilogy released by a company called Quintet, along with its predecessor ActRaiser, and another game called Terranigma, which came later. All three of these games they're not literally linked by their plot, but they all are conceptually related because they involve the player playing as either a god or a divine agent acting at God's behest, doing the work of resurrecting a once thriving world that has been stripped of everything. It's where we're all the way back to zero. There's no living things, there's no villages or anything. You're starting from scratch, recreating the world. In ActRaiser, that act of recreation was a combination of side-scrolling action where you would fight off monsters and demons, and then once the monsters and demons were slain, you would do this 2D sort of primitive stripped down version of Sim City where you would rebuild these once thriving towns and actually tell the game, here's where I want to build the roads, here's what I want to put over here and over there, and it's really neat. Soul Blazer doesn't do that. Soul Blazer takes a different approach. So instead of side-scrolling gameplay, you would go into a dungeon. Each town, just like in ActRaiser, has 2 dungeons, and as you go through the dungeon, you would find these monster closets. Everything is from a top-down 2D view, like old school Zelda. And so you would post up near one of these monster closets. You would kill all of the monsters that come out of it until it was emptied. And once it was emptied, that would resurrect a denizen of the village. Now, what was really cool was sometimes these were humans that you would resurrect. Other times they could be animals, they could be inanimate objects, or even sometimes dolls, or in one case, things like little robots. So there's a whole lot of creativity to this, and there's a lot of the joy in going into these dungeons, killing a bunch of monsters, and then coming back out to interact with the people or creatures or plants or whatever they were that you freed, because they would all have something to say, and that would move the plot forward. The background plot of this is very simple, that the king of this fantastical land made a deal with the devil, that for each living thing he turned over, he would get 1 shiny gold coin. And so King Magrid sells out the populace, gets all of the gold coins, and of course is himself killed by the devil, called Death Toll in this game. So you, a servant of the master, this Lord of Light, is sent down to resurrect everybody one by one and put this right. The gameplay is very clearly inspired by original Zelda, not just because it's a top-down thing where you swing a sword. You will, through the course of your adventures, find various items that have different use cases. Some of them are offensive, some of them are defensive, and some of them are puzzle-solving things, or a combination. So, for example, in the second area of the game, you will get a spell that is basically a light source. You have this orbiting little blue light that goes around you, and your spells are cast from that little blue thing. So this spell makes an illuminated circle around this orbiting thing. And while you are within that circle, it allows you to see where you're going within this darkened temple. And it also eliminates certain kinds of threats. Anywhere, as long as you are within the circle, you are safe from those things. So that's kind of how these spells functions. Again, some of them are projectiles and some of them are other things like that. There's one that attracts lightning that you use to avoid being struck by lightning, but also to use that lightning to, say, destroy a bunch of rocks and clear a path, stuff like that. But what I really love about this game is its charm. There is so much charm and creativity and whimsy kind of oozing out of the game in each of the 6 different levels that you go through. So first is just this kind of mountainside town. And your first inclination that things are going to be a little more whimsical than just resurrecting people is resurrecting things like goats and flowers that you talk to. And you learn that the goats and the flowers are often reincarnated people that passed away. And sometimes you are helping them, say, find a loved one. So the goat who died goes and hangs out with the who used to be his wife when the goat was a human. Things like that are really cute. You also get a tool that helps you go into people's dreams. So whenever you find a sleeping person, you can go in there and talk to them, or occasionally this might be a way you have to go in and fight some kind of a threat. But this adds kind of another layer of just, again, fantastical whimsy to it, is entering dreams. In that first level, the first level is, what you expect. It's like an abandoned mine full of monsters, very typical 16-bit RPG stuff. But the second level is a painting. You actually go inside this painting where it's this MC Escher-esque cubist nightmare world where everything is kind of topsy-turvy. The second level is kind of a jungle full of jungle temples and things. The third level is underwater, most of it. So you're dealing with like resurrecting mermaids and exploring the bottom of the ocean. The fourth level, things go for some pathos where you are resurrecting these gnomes that live in the mountains, but the gnomes only have a 1-year lifespan. And so there's a lot of discussion amongst them about, what is the meaning of life? What does it mean to have a life that's only 1 year long and to make the most of the time you have, all of which is somewhat a mystery to your character, of course, being an immortal, basically an angel. The fifth level is real weird because you are at the home of Professor Leo, the scientist who helps the king make contact with the devil and set all this in motion. His house is full of, there's a basement full of, evil robots and such, but there are also these tiny models of towns, think like Beetlejuice. And you actually shrink down and go inside these models where you are fighting, miniature catapults and toy soldiers and things to then release things inside the house. So instead of resurrecting people, it's a house. So you're resurrecting furniture and like house cats and things to talk to and make your progress there. And then the final level is the castle, Castle Magritte, where you're resurrecting everyone, and you find out the queen was like this Lady Macbeth figure that was behind the whole thing. And then finally you open up a portal into hell to go in there and take down the devil once and for all. It's a really sweet little nugget of a game. It's not very ambitious compared to, say, ActRaiser, which has this city builder element to it. But what it lacks in that ambition, it makes up for with aesthetics, with a absolutely beautiful score that I'll find myself coming back to, especially the little like sad theme when you're resurrecting the town, and then the happy version of that theme when the town is back. All of that loop is just so satisfying. Each of the towns has like not a mayor, but like a primary being that is the last person you unlock as you go through these dungeons and fight the main bosses, and they're all kind of like cute. So for example, there's the Queen of the Mermaids. There's a dog that's in charge of the jungle that used to be Professor Leo's dog, Turbo. He's running the thing. So it's just really fun to go through, like meet this like chorus of animals that's in charge of that world. The other weird thing that happens is once in a while, you can actually release a being out of order, where normally you're supposed to say release something that resurrects a building, and then the person will be inside of it. So once in a while you can sequence break and you release the person first, and instead of the person coming, you'll get this like flaming blue orb that you can walk up to it and it'll just say, "Release me," in all caps, which is, that's satisfying the first time you do it, and kind of also alarming. So that's a cute little detail in it, but I kind of just wanted to bring this to the table because there's really no other place I would talk about it on my show, but I wanted to share it with you. You can easily emulate it where all SNES games can be emulated. It's pretty bite-sized. The only kind of drawback to it is that there is if you want to, it's not for the true ending, but if you want to make the end boss a million times easier, there are these lettered medallions hidden throughout the levels. I think it's A through H or something. There's 8 or 10 of them. If you find all of them, you can trade those in for this projectile like Phoenix spell that you can fire off at the main boss. It makes it a million times easier to fight that guy. So you're going to want to do this. Just do it with a guide. Make it easy on yourself. Otherwise, yeah, it's a little bit of a pain to scrounge up all of these little hidden things. But the game has so much, again, it's simple, but in a way that kind of makes it feel enjoyable and bite-sized. I think if this game had a few more levels or something else to make it more ambitious, it would actually be subtractive rather than additive. It would start becoming bloated and overlong. I think the game just about hits that mark where it doesn't overstay its welcome, short as it is. But anyway, that is my advice on revisiting Soul Blazer. It is worth doing, and if you like it, definitely check out ActRaiser and Terranigma. Those two are both a lot of fun. Arguably, they're better games, but I just personally kind of have a love for this one. I remember just replaying it several times in my youth. And even when I was older, I'd come back and go like, you know what? I feel like I just want to play through this again because there's something just kind of sweet and breezy about revisiting this world. So anyway, that's Soul Blazer. Hope you enjoy it. If you want to find my stuff, you can go listen to Nostalgium Arcanum, and you can find that wherever podcasts are sold. And you can find us on the socials. We're on X at Nostalgium Pod. Same with Blue Sky. We're at Nostalgium Pod on Blue Sky. And then we're on Threads and Instagram at Nostalgium Arcanum. So not all of our episodes are on video games, but I'd say maybe, I don't know, a fourth of them have been on games. That we've covered things like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI and Myst, Street Fighter 2, Doom, Mega Man 2, Simon's Quest. So all kinds of fun games in there, the Uncharted franchise. And I think by the time you hear this, we'll have some episodes out on the 16-bit Disney era, as well as we're planning one on Crash Bandicoot. So lots of that to find. So anyway, that is it for me and this edition of Side Quests. Happy gaming.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone?
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken.
And I'm Sam Alisea.
And on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating.
But flawed.
And we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then, we can celebrate movies that did it on their own, too.
You can find us at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.
CPOV.
certainpov.com.